Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I want to show you how you can use a feature for animations in PowerPoint called triggers that will help you communicate your ideas better. My name is Matthew Hardman and I enjoy utilizing PowerPoint and helping other people see how they can utilize PowerPoint to share ideas and information. Now, one of the things that I see a lot of people using PowerPoint for is to report progress or report results. And over the years, sometimes the level of inspection becomes quite detailed. And what that results in people trying to do is providing almost an excessive amount of information because maybe one, there's lots of things that they want to talk about. Two, there's lots of aspects in their data and their details they want to communicate. It can sometimes be kind of just crammed together in a single PowerPoint slide. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm utilizing our example presentation about cheese here, and we're going to talk about the cheese report. And so what that report essentially looks like is something like this. And you might laugh. This is a terrible way to put together a PowerPoint slide. But I will tell you, I've worked in enough corporate organizations to know that this kind of thing actually happens quite a lot. You have lots of strategies, lots of things you need to communicate, and people just try to cram things in. You get to a point where the people who you're presenting to, maybe the people who are inspecting what's going on in your business, say your font must be no more than 8 points. And these ones here, these are down to 5 and 6. Now, of course, I've advocated before for the use of numbers in circles, a color which is very, very different to the color of the slide itself. And so as you present, you might go through and say, hey, I'd like to talk through about our first strategy, which would be on making the cheese. And I want to pay particular attention to point 1, which is on cost reduction. You know, that's a way that you can actually utilize to help you direct the viewer in terms of what you want to talk about and to enable to articulate a point. It also guides you through the presentation as well. But I have a way to even make it better. If you're in this situation and you have all this information and you really want to focus on a key point, then one of the things you can do is add this. So what you can see here is that when I go ahead and actually click, I can have the thing actually expand. Now, it doesn't seem too surprising, right? You could say, Matt, I get it. You can go ahead and actually put these things on as an animation and just add them up. But what I've done here is something different. I'm actually tying a trigger to the point to make it come on. So let me show you what that actually looks like. This is where the secret feature comes in. What I can do is click that again and it goes away. Click it, comes back, click it, goes away. If I go over to point 3, click it, point 3 comes up. Click it, go away. In fact, if I wanted to, I can have all 3 up on the screen at the same time. And by clicking it again, it actually goes away. So what we're looking at here is not necessarily a standard sort of step through animation. Most people on PowerPoint slides, you look at animation and sort of say, here's the first one, here's the second one, here's the third one. I animate them together or I animate them uniquely. But what we've done here is we've turned those 1, 2, 3 circles into push buttons to animate something on demand. And it's in no particular order because what I'm doing is I'm tying in the animation to the click of those particular numbers. So it gives me that ability that as I'm talking, I can take something away, I can put it back up. I might say, hey, you know, if I tie labor efficiency to material efficiency, this is where we get savings. But then I want that to go away and I just want to focus on one point. I can talk about customer satisfaction. And this stands out a lot more than trying to use the numbers and say, okay, here it is. Because what will tend to happen here is that people will try and read all this information. So let me show you how we go ahead and actually implement this particular capability. So we're here inside PowerPoint. What I'm going to do is just start off on something new here, right? So we'll go and add a new slide. And just for the purpose of this example, I'm not going to add lots of text, but I want to show you how you basically create the animation, make it come in, make it go away, so you can sort of see how it's actually controlled. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to insert 2 shapes. So I'm going to put in a box, right? The box will be super important. Some text, right? So we've got some information here that we want to be able to bring in, and I'm going to go and add in a circle. And there we go there. Now, this thing could be anything, any object that's actually on there. You can actually look at something and gets focus on the actual PowerPoint itself. But a circle, it blends into the overall PowerPoint presentation, so it's not necessarily too bad. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to the box, and I'm going over to animations. And I'm going to add an animation effect, which is that zoom out. Okay, so as I get this to animate, I want it to zoom out like that. Okay, and I also want it to be able to zoom back in. So what I can actually do here is essentially go to my animation pane, and I can see the animation there. Let's just make this a little smaller. There's my animation pane. I click off. I'm going to click on it again and add a zoom out. Okay, so what would typically happen at this point is that when I come into the slide and click, it would actually zoom out the box, and the next click would actually zoom it back in. But what we want to do is tie that click aspect into an actual other object, like a button here, right? So what I'm going to do now is go to that animation on the right where it's got some text, and I'm coming up here to trigger. Okay, so you can see trigger up here in the animation menu. And I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to change this to on click of oval 4. Okay. Now, one of the things you could do, and especially I would always advocate for this, when you have a more complicated slide with lots and lots of different shapes on it, similar to what I had before, I had 1, 2, 3, not overly complicated, but the naming convention used by PowerPoint is like oval 10, oval 11, oval 12. And sometimes you're not quite sure which is the right one. So one of the things as you get into more complicated slide design is you probably want to come over to your home menu, go into, let me see if I can try and actually find it. The selection pane is what we're looking for here. So if I go to shape format, arrange, and selection pane, here I can actually see the elements on my page. And so for oval 4, what I'm going to do here is essentially rename this to, let's say, press button. So at least then that will actually have a unique name which I can look at and kind of go, okay, well, it's that one. So if you had 3 points, maybe it might be point 1, point 2, point 3. So anyway, let's go back. I've got that called press button. So I want to come back to the animation here. So we'll go over to animations, and I want this to essentially animate when I click on that button. So I'm going to choose the animation. I'm going to go up to trigger, and I'm going to say on click of press button. Okay, and so what's going to happen here is that when I go through and click on that, it will actually come up. But I also want to do the same thing for the exit animation as well, because I want it to be able to go away when I'm done with it. So what I'm going to do is I click off of this again, and I'm going to click on this next one, and I'm going to say trigger on click of press button 3. Now what we'll see here is that both of the animation of coming zoomed out or zoomed out, I guess you'd sort of say, when it's being presented on the screen, can be seen here. And if I press the same thing again, it'll actually zoom it away. So let me show you how that works. I've got to just sort of change over to a different view here. Okay, so now I'm in PowerPoint view. You can see there's nothing on the screen except my button. If I go here and click on it, then it comes up. If I click on it again, it goes away. Click on it, comes up. Click on it, goes away. If I click anywhere else in the slide, we progress the slide through. So essentially my circle has now become a push button to essentially create some sort of action that gives me the output. And that's what really helps me get to this sort of a view where I'm able to take, you know, the core points of my content and be able to put them into some sort of action animation that will help me go ahead and highlight the actual points. So hopefully that will help you if you have this situation where you've got lots and lots of text that you have to have on the screen, because maybe you want to give them all the information, but you want to help direct the conversation to a couple of key points. using triggers and animation together will give you a way to efficiently articulate some of those ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I hope this has been helpful. Have a great day.